It's real. Welcome back to a very special episode of Real with O'Neal. I'm actually here with my guest, Hank Beasley. How you doing, Hank?
Doing all right, Brian.
That's good, man. You know, this episode is really going to be about cancel culture, racial injustice, and implications within a encounter between, a lot of times, white and minorities. Now, we have a special clip for you guys. This is going to be involving Hank, and we want to see your interpretation. Then we're going to break it down, giving extra context afterwards. Here's this clip.
Call security. I live here. He doesn't let me in because he's saying I don't live here.
Use your key card. If you live here,
He doesn't want to let me
What
in.
the fuck is your problem?
Dude, I have my fucking thing here.
you are billing.
Dude, it happens all the time. It's fine.
Well, I'm not letting it
Yeah, you need to
No,
ease
it's
up.
fine. I'm recording.
I
this.
also have a key to this. So fucking ease up, bro. Get the fuck out of here.
Fucking racist ass.
Clear the fucking
Floridian.
road.
Some people pay from the other buildings to come in here too, I think.
Yeah. This building isn't the only. You are not this arbiter. What the fuck?
Yo, if you have a key card, then you can get in yourself. You're not coming in the fucking garage. I called the cops, so you got about 5 minutes
That's
to get out of here.
fine. Call the cops. What are you calling the cops about, Karen? He's literally blocking me from entering because he thinks I'm trying to break into the building, even though I live here. This is fucking racist.
This is pathetic.
This is literally fucking racist. This is so racist. He's trying to back up. He's trying to back up into me. Can you come watch this? They're literally trying to back up into me. What the fuck are they doing?
Hey, dude, pull into your space or go.
Fucking move! Yo! Get the fuck! Yo, security's fucking coming! Do not fucking touch this car!
Yo, what the fuck? What the fuck is your fucking problem, dude?
Yo, touch my car, bitch!
All right, that's enough
You don't have
evidence.
a right to come in here!
He lives here.
Where's the ball?
We both live
You
here.
don't touch my car, bro! I'm protecting our fucking place!
It's my place too. It's his
Where's
place
your
too.
car, huh?
It's in my fucking car. We have enough proof to get your ass arrested. We're getting the cops involved. Thank you.
So, like many videos, that was being archived as perceived as racist between an encounter between white and minority assailants. And this is the biggest thing that we really need to understand with these encounters is what is the actual context that happens. And that's why I think this is a unique opportunity for us to really break down what happened and what transpired before and after, but really understand the other perspective. And that's why you're here, Hank. So if you can just, give us your story, what happened from your own point of view, and kind of fill in the gaps.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Brian,
Of
for
course, of
giving
course.
me this opportunity
Yeah.
to kind of share my side of the story. I know that oftentimes, perception is so reliant upon context.
Absolutely.
And in my situation, this was completely taken out of context.
Okay.
And just to kind of give everybody an idea of the context of the situation, I had lived in Soma residences for less than a month at this point that the incident occurred. It was 11:30 at night.
That's right.
It was dim and dark in the garage, and my girlfriend and I were just getting back from dinner, and that's when the incident happened. As there's a sign right outside the garage. If you want to show the sign, it says, do not permit entry to anybody you do not recognize. You are being, you're not being rude. You're being cautious.
Okay.
And so it's 11:30 at night, and we're driving into the sorry,
You're
man.
good. No, you're good. You're good. You're fine. I know this is a hard situation, and I understand. It's okay. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about this, because we need to get to the bottom of this. And just to give a little extra about what goes on with these encounters, what I've seen, with the Ahmaud Arbery case, for example, where they had assailants that were playing security or playing police officer. We found extra context that they were already, stereotyping that man, Ahmaud Arbery, hunted him down and murdered him in cold blood. See, I cannot put you in that same box as those gentlemen. That wouldn't be fair. We really had to look back, and I understand that we are in this very hostile, almost powder keg version of racial tension in this country. And I really want to make sure that whenever there is racism, we point it out. We make sure that that's racism, and we need to act accordingly. However, I feel as if on the flip side that whenever we try to, move through these encounters with, white people, that we try to throw those descriptions on you whenever you're not racist. In my own personal opinion, what I saw from, the video and the many articles that I read, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of articles. There were articles, Twitters, Instagram. This is all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I saw in gathering and collecting data, looking back, and trying to really understand exactly what's going on, and knowing and having that education about racism, we understand that, in my own opinion, that it was not. And I just had, I want to ask you, man, what was going through your head? What was there any form of racial prejudice that was affecting your actions in that case? Did you know that Michael Brawlhaus was Hispanic?
No, Brian. In the video, I think this is where context really plays a huge part, because it was dim in the garage, it was dark outside, and Michael's headlights, at the time I didn't know his name, it was just an unfamiliar car.
Right.
In the moment. All I saw was headlights that were blinding any vision, making it impossible for us to see who was in the car, what skin color they were, what gender they were. I heard two voices coming from behind. It sounded like two different men, and this is the part of the story where, I had zero racist intentions in anything I did. I never even was aware of the color of these people's skin. And it was at this time in the video that we started backing up, and that's when Michael Brawlhaus, in the video is saying, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist. However, at that time, still didn't see any color, and we were calling security because, and we were backing up so we could try and get the license plate information,
Right.
And give it to security. Right. Seconds later is when, the video kind of shows us moving forward. That's
right.
when
That's right. Yeah.
the white man got out of the car behind us.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first color I saw in this situation.
Was he the passenger to Michael Brawlhaus? I saw some articles saying that he was just a resident. Can you fill me in? What did you see?
A lot of the articles that were passed around the next day or the following days said that this was a resident bystander. I saw the guy get out of the car, and this was the first, skin color I saw. I'm not sure, who he was, but they were definitely together because they were, both yelling at us in the video,
Right.
letting us know that, this happens all the time. They're residents here, and still they'd never really shown the fob on the camera. They kind of showed it in the video, like inside the car, but again, the headlights were pretty much making it impossible for me to see anything. And so, Brian, this is really where I let my emotions get the best of me when the guy got out of the car and slapped our car.
Yep.
In the moment, just with everything going on, I couldn't, believe what was going on. So I got out of the car, and this is really where I made a huge mistake, because I let my emotions and I let my emotions heighten the situation, and I let my intentions open to interpretation. And in this case, they were completely misinterpreted as racist, when really I never even saw the color of the skin of Michael Brawlhaus. All I saw was the passenger get out of the car who was white, and really the only people in the video were white. Nothing I said in the video was racist. I didn't even say anything, but please use your fob. We all kind of see how I handled that.
Of course. And I don't condone. The aggressive back and forth.
Me either.
Of course, and that's the biggest thing that we really need to analyze with these situations, is that whenever there's heightened aggression, whatever you want to call it, we got to sit back and think about our actions in a more understanding way. And of course, in the moment, it's hard to be like, I need to think about the racial implications. But like at the same time, that's because we're not getting the education that's happening. There's almost a schism between what is going on in this country between two groups, two demographics. And that's kind of what I really want to jump into now, is you understand why it could be perceived as racist, right?
Absolutely.
Right. There is a whole history with, and I call it policing privilege, just because, and I'll just go into a little spiel about that, is that whenever we have, historically speaking, whenever there's police involved, of course, what we've seen with George Floyd and all the rest in peace, is that unfortunately, a lot of white Americans still have a trust with, not unfortunately, but just on their perspective, they have some trust with the police. So they think or they believe that when the police gets there and they're interacting with a minority, that they're going to act justly. That doesn't always happen. That's not always the case. Minorities understand that. We historically understand. We've known that for the past 155 years. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, that's where that line of communication is not having that connection. And so, what I tell people in your situation, that this is why it can be perceived as racist. Mm-hmm. Calling the police on a Hispanic man, black, Asian, it doesn't matter. Is that unfortunately in the climate that we're in and how our police institutions are kind of set up, they're not justly acting according to what they would, how they would treat a white person. They're not treating the same as a minority, and minorities know that. And so in that situation, what do you know about racial implication in these encounters? What have you learned after the fact, kind of sitting back, having that reflection? What have you learned during this?
Definitely. And that's a great point that you make, Brian. And something I didn't factor in the moment of the situation was, the social and political standpoint of racism right now. And again, it was me thinking in the moment and not really, thinking about the full situation, because I do understand the racial implications of white people calling the police on minorities. And, I, for one, do not agree in how police has been set up. I've been very active in this standpoint and how, racially prejudiced a lot of these police force can be. And in the moment, if I could redo anything, I definitely wouldn't have ever threatened to call the police, because I can see how, somebody's perception, not seeing that I saw, seeing that, then, Michael thought that I saw the color of his skin, and he thought that I was calling the police because I was afraid they were going to break in and steal everything because he was Latino. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth. I've been out on the streets in San Francisco weeks prior to this protesting for racial and social equality and against police violence. I've been at protest. I actually, remember one specific incident with Sean Monterosa, who was a Hispanic individual. He was a 23-year-old man who was gunned down by 3 Vallejo police. And I remember the day I found out about that, I called off work and I told my boss I needed to go and protest. And I was out in Oakland that night with his name in my hands, chanting his name, no justice, no peace, justice for Sean Monterosa, justice for George Floyd. And
now I will say, and I love that. It's great. There has been cases of, white people that still have those, that still have some of those racial prejudices that still are entwined and ingrained in their perception. And it comes out sometimes. That's why it's great. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to, discount, you going to Black Lives. I love that. That's great. You're on the right path of being in line with the social movement that's happening in the country. But I think where a lot of the misunderstanding is that just because of those actions doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be racist.
Absolutely.
And like I stated before, I didn't see any racism in this video. However, that's kind of what I want to get to this. I love, this is a very, very unique opportunity, y'all, just because whenever we see these kind of racial encounters, we never get to see the other side. We never do. And it kind of comes back to the media. It comes to the media. I found this out, Hank, on Twitter.
Yeah.
I saw this on Twitter. You said you saw one of the videos on
Instagram,
exactly. And
Snapchat.
So they're going to, the media, their job essentially is to get the breaking news, not necessarily get the facts first. It's always like that.
Absolutely.
It's become commercialized, the media, and it's actually almost been emboldened by this certain cancel culture. Now, we're going to talk about cancel culture a little bit. I want you to really explain to people the aftermath. What's going on with your family, you. I saw that one, it was NBC did it was it was a journalist. Mm-hmm. A journalist that came in and you were kind of packing something up. What has gone on in the aftermath of this altercation?
So it's important to know that this happened Tuesday at 11:30 at night, and the viral video that Michael cropped and edited and whatnot and posted all over pretty much every social media outlet. That video came out on Wednesday afternoon, and perpetrators had found my name, found out where I worked. They'd found out every single member of my family, including my stepmom, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, and they automatically jumped to the conclusion without all of the context that I was racist and that every single member of my family was racist. Anybody that associated with me was now a racist. And within 24 hours of the video hitting social media, I had countless death threats. My sister's names were being slandered as things totally, unrelevant to the situation.
Right.
They were being called sluts and whores, and my mom was being called a racist. And they had posted the address of my family's house and every address that we'd ever lived at prior all over social media. And, it's when Apex Systems then validated the point that I could have been racist in their Twitter posts is when the, death threats really started to becoming, really started coming in strong. And that is, when the manager of the hotel, of the apartment that we were staying at, Summer Residences, he called my girlfriend and I into the office and he said, look, we're not evicting you here. We've seen the videotapes from the garage security. We don't think this is a race-driven thing. However, this has gone viral on social media, and you are now getting doxxed. He used this phrase, doxxed. I had not heard of it at the time.
I've never heard. What is doxxed?
It basically means when a mass population of social media influencers believe something that may or may not be true, and they go in and they try and get justice out of the situation.
You've been canceled. You got canceled, though.
I got canceled, and more importantly, they were on the way to the apartment, and they made that clear on social media. They were texting me, hey, we're on the way to your apartment. We'll see you soon.
Right.
So I was obviously extremely, fear-driven, and that's when the NBC reporter that
Came up to you.
came up to me as I was packing up my car. And
so seeing on the other side of cancel culture, and I actually do want to do a full episode about cancel culture because it's become something that is almost an offshoot of PC culture. In my opinion, that's the thing, that whenever I see these kind of things, and not your case, when like the Ahmaud Arbery's or the George Floyd's and things like that, there's a fear for PC culture, but that's really just a progressive, almost realization in this country that there is certain social injustices that's happening within certain demographics that's not being highlighted. And so what PC culture has done is made sure that those voices are heard. That's the point of PC culture. However, cancel culture is an offshoot. It's a byproduct of PC culture. Essentially what it is the weaponized version of PC. Does it work? In my own opinion, and listen, cancel culture, I get it. Like canceling some person that wore blackface like 3 years ago. I personally believe that we're focusing on the wrong thing. Cancel culture is just a minuscule social victory, in my opinion. And it's so minuscule that sometimes it gets interpreted wrong, like in your case. So my opinion on it really is that cancel culture needs to be reevaluated. Excuse me. Because cancel culture, what it does is really just creates, it's a breaking news. It creates just a bunch of humbug for no reason, and then all of a sudden it gets taken and the narrative gets creative right then and there. And whenever you create a narrative right then and there, it's become biased. And I'm sorry that's happened to you, man. I really am. Your family does not deserve to suffer from your sins. I really don't believe that. What have you done to kind of help yourself kind of in your mindset? I don't know, canceling or, turning off your social media, turning off the TV, things like that, kind of joining back into your family. What have you done?
Definitely. Well, I've had to, of course, delete all of my social media
I saw
accounts.
that. I saw that.
That was step number one.
Yeah.
And, I decided to leave San Francisco for safety, and I drove back to Dallas so I could be with my family and, just support them during this time. And, of course, I've apologized profusely to my family for, the situation my actions put them in. And, at the end of the day, none of this would have happened to my family if my intentions on how I acted weren't misinterpreted.
Right.
And I really think that if I had done a better job at handling my emotions and not raised my voice, that this, intent wouldn't have been looked at as racist. Because at the end of the day, nothing I did in the moment, was fueled by racism. And yet this whole thing has created a racist image for not only myself, but my family. And so honestly, this is step one in me, making our name right, because I'm not condoning any of my behaviors in the video, but nothing I did was racist. And my family for sure, is not racist. And they definitely are the last family that needs to be, deemed all over social media, all over the media. that we were racist, and that couldn't have been farther from the truth.
You know, last question for you then, man. You know, of course, this is your opportunity to really give your final statements and talk to Michael Brawhaus, Michael Brawhaus being the one who was videotaping the Hispanic man that was in the car. What would you say to him?
Definitely. And I would just say that, you know, I can't understand how you felt, but I can understand why you might have felt vulnerable in this situation. And it's because, you know, you felt like I was acting in a racist, you know, manner or racist intent when really I had never seen the color of your skin. I didn't even actually see who you were. And, you know, this is a perfect example of how, you know, one person is claiming something to be racist when there was no racist intent. And really what it does is blind people from the actual racist, you know, things that actually happened out there. And, you know, Michael Brawhaus really claims himself as like an activist, somebody that's, you know, speaking up over racist actions, yet he took this incident that had nothing to do with race and he's turned it into a racist event. And all this is doing at the end of the day is drawing people's attention from the actual events of racism. The people out there that are, you know, screaming racist things, actually doing something to somebody with color that's very clear that they're doing it because of their of color. And, you know, nothing in the video that he took shows that I was doing anything with racist intent. And I would just, you know, say to Michael Brawhaus that you know, this is a good example of the repercussions that can happen when you slander around false information. You know, because of that, my family has been attacked, called horrible names, and, you know,
it's become unsafe.
It's become unsafe.
Yeah.
And
and you know, that's the case, man. I just, you know, really what I want to know at the end of the day is, after all this, after, you know, the slander, after the just you know, you of course being terminated from your job, things like that, has anything changed for your own perspective of this social movement with Black Lives Matter, and, you know, of course, being for police reform and things that you're stating, all out there protesting? Has anything changed?
No, Brian, I mean, my beliefs and my intentions are going to stay the same regardless of everything that's happened in my life. I'm not going to go and start hating Latino people just because a Latino man did this to me, or made up this story of me being racist. You know, I don't live in San Francisco anymore right now, but, you know, if I was, I'd probably be out there at another protest right now, and I'm still not going to change my beliefs on how corrupt I think the police force is, and how corrupt I think that weighs towards the, you know, minorities, or how much, you know, that corruptness affects the minorities. I'm still going to keep those same beliefs, and, you know, I'm going to keep my head up high and know that I didn't act out of racist intentions. And I'm going to use this as a huge learning curve for myself, that I have to do a better job of controlling my emotions, and I have to do a better job of how I react to events, especially in today's political and social climate, because I let the door open for my intentions to be misinterpreted. I solely did that. And at the end of the day, I can't blame anybody else for that but myself. And I just want the world to know that nothing I did was with racist intentions, and that I hope people can realize and really use this as an example of how they need to not judge people based off of their color.
Yeah. You know, that
goes if you're white or if you're black or if you're yellow. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. We all have a responsibility to make sure we are not judging somebody's intentions based off of their look or based off their color.
Absolutely. I love that, man. And you're absolutely right. That just kind of honing back in, really the biggest thing out of this, the theme, of course, was generalization. You know, there's dangers of generalizing people. A lot of times it will seep into generalizing one person of a whole community, and that's why we're here. And, you know, people that are upset, and this is not, and let's just be very, very clear, this is not ammunition for those who think that racism doesn't exist in the world. That's not what this is. This is acknowledging that racism exists. However, there are certain ways that we can go about it and not just generalize all white people. We can't. If we don't want to be generalized as a community, we cannot generalize other people, because that is an antithesis to what the movement is actually about. And so, you know, I just want to say, as the final thing for all my viewers out there, that generalization can be dangerous. However, educate yourself on racism. Educate yourself on historic racism and systemic racism that happens in these communities. You know, whenever you go out there, whenever you have the sign, and I'm talking about those who are even supporters of Black Lives Matter, understand what you're supporting. Don't just go out there to get a pic. Don't go out there to get a selfie. Actually understand what you're doing, that this is a deeply ingrained pain that's happening from the community. So what I really want everyone to know is that, like I stated, generalization is extremely dangerous, and know the history of what you're out there fighting for, and fighting for the people that are actually being affected in those communities. I appreciate you, Hank, man. Like,
Thanks,
Ian
man.
had to come out here, man.
I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You put your heart out there, and I hope that, and like you stated, that you are still will be a fighter for us, a fighter for this community, and support us at every single turn.
Absolutely.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is Real with O'Neill, a very special episode with Real with O'Neill. Guys, like I stated, we're going to be on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I don't know what else to say, man, but I guess we're just going to sign off. I appreciate it. It's real.